Hey guys, Stealth here. In this video for Transport Fever we're going to have a look at how you can increase production. This is one of those things that I found very confusing at the start of the game. When I started playing it I was like, okay, I want to make sure that this factory produces enough. How can I get this done? Now, we're going to do that for this test line here. This is a small transport line running from a farm towards this food processing plant, then back towards this train station where it offloads the processed food towards this depot or towards this truck stop. And then the truck takes it towards the commercial areas. As you can see here, the blue buildings are of course in the middle of town and they require the food so that they can sell it. Now, I need to make sure that this thing gets enough production. Initially, when you start out with a route, it's not going to be producing a lot. You can see production is more or less going up. It's at 70, 72, and there is a bit of food or grain currently waiting at Christchurch Station. The train that I'm using is just a very, very small one. As you can see, it just has one open car for the grain and one closed car in case there's livestock waiting. On the way back, it takes the life cart truck or life cart cart and takes the food from this station and puts it back into Christchurch. The thing is that Christchurch will only accept so much. Christchurch only needs 53 units of food in its current state. And what you need to know about the game, most importantly, is that it is a demand-driven economy. What this means is that unless Christchurch grows in some fashion, it is not going to be demanding any more food. Meaning that this processing plant only produces as much food as is desired by the current line. So this line, stopping here, only needs 53 food in its current condition. Therefore, this one, the food processing plant, won't demand that much along the lines of its requirements, which is grain and livestock. And thereby, this train is not going to be producing or is not going to be transporting too much, and this farm won't be too busy. It's not going to be running at maximum capacity. Now, the best way to improve production, make sure that this thing is going to go towards, for example, a 200 point limit. And the same goes for this one, because this one can be at 200, but if this one doesn't come along with it, then there's not going to be enough demand, and it's going to scale down and potentially even downgrade. The best way to make sure that that doesn't happen is to grow your finished demander, if that makes sense. The finished demander, or the final line or the end of the line, is this one. You can see it is very, very slowly growing. Towns tend to grow organically over time and it's now requiring 54, whereas a minute ago that was 53. But if I start to grow Christchurch, so if I grow the population, then the shopping facilities are likely to go with it, and therefore there's going to be more demand. So with more demand for food in Christchurch, this one is going to have more demand for raw resources, and then the farm is going to be outputting more raw resources. So how do we grow Christchurch? Well, I can send further supplies towards Christchurch, which could be, for example, tools or goods. Now, goods are a pretty long production chain. Goods are produced in one of these, and they take a lot of resources to go. I could focus on the fuel, which is usually a pretty easy one. For that, I would need to get raw oil or crude oil towards this oil refinery, which is by far the closest of anything near. But the closest bit of fuel seems to be on the other side of the map, right there. So that's a no-go. Now, another very, very much easier way to grow Christchurch is to simply hook it up to another town. You can see that in the meanwhile, as I am delivering some food, the amount of supply here is going to mediocre. I intend to get that to good or potentially excellent. And with it, the shopping facilities are slightly growing, but not much. So in order to speed this process along, I want to have a new transport route from Christchurch to Barnard Castle down in the south. Now, I already set up a second road exit for this one, and I'm going to park my train station on the other end of it. So we're just going to set up a standard transport line, or standard train line, And I should have enough room for a truck stop or for a bus stop. Otherwise there's not going to be enough demand for the train station, which is absolutely important here. Just like that. And then we're going to add the train. Here we go. And now we're going to head south. Now I'm not going to do this in the most economic fashion. It's just going to be a quick and dirty transport line or rail line, which the game for some reason really likes to arc. Now as for a good location in Bernard Castle, it doesn't really matter that much, as I'm not going to be expanding on this save game too much. So I'm going to keeping it towards the north end where it's easiest to connect. And then from there we're going to connect that one. And of course we need to get another bus stop here. So one there, we're going to set up a quick and dirty bus line. One there, one here, one there, and one there. That covers most of the town. Quickly connect these two so that the bus doesn't have to do all sorts of weird routes. So one there, there, around, and back you go. So that is the, I'm going to abbreviate that to the Bernard bus. The Bernard bus is not going to be transporting anyone, not likely anyway, because it simply doesn't have any demand. So once again, we're stuck with a demand issue. Why is there no demand for this bus? Well, it's the same reason as the farm. The end user of the delivered goods, as it were, except for the people who just like to take the bus inside Bernard Castle to save them a walk, maybe. They are supposedly going to be delivered to this bus stop, but the bus stop itself doesn't really lead anywhere. So once I start to add trains to the Bernard Castle line towards Christchurch, that is when there's going to be an actual demand for the passengers. So once again, I need to up the demand for this line. I'm going to go for a pretty easy red arrow line. I don't need to add anything to that. So we're going to set up a new line, starting there and finishing up there in Christchurch. I can keep that as line 1, I don't need to rename it. Now I need to do the same thing on this end, making sure that there is indeed a demand for this train line. So we're first going to set up a road depot, since I have that tab open. Bus stop, this end. This thing is actually pretty nicely aligned already. Mostly, that is. And can we connect it, more or less? That'd be great. Really? My truck stop's in the way? Fine, we'll get the truck stop out of the way. I have 2 now anyway. Game. Why? Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So, more bus stops here for future expansion of this area. That's what I'm hoping for. So, next up, start there. Add these bus stops. This one's a bit unfortunate, but I hope that the industry area is going to expand on its own. There we go. This is going to be the Christchurch bus. And we need to add just 1 vehicle to that. And initially, of course, as you're starting up a new line, people simply don't know that there is a bus, and it's going to take them a while to get used to that. This one is coming in with 8 food, dropping it off right here at the station, dropping it off at the depot, 8 food awaiting. Christchurch by now requires 60 food, because we are growing the shopping facilities. Thereby, there's going to be more demand, and you can see that this thing has already been upgraded, simply because the demand is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now it's so much so that I don't really have enough cars on this train at the moment. And this one has way too much food awaiting already, so I can now upgrade the train, and thereby upgrade the whole production process. So we're going to wait for this one to... Yeah, we're going to have to send him back on his way. It's not ideal, but I need to make sure that this thing has enough capacity. Pause it. I don't want to waste too much time. We're going to add some more freight cars, a couple of open cars, and a couple of these Verbandwagens. And with that, we're going to send it back on Christchurch Food Line. Now to make this a bit more efficient, I'm going to tell it to turn around here, so that it does pick up the food right away, because it has plenty of capacity there. And it can at least bring some more food towards Christchurch. Christchurch currently going for 63, so simply by transporting food towards, or actually transporting any commodity towards a location, you are likely to drive up demand for it, especially towns. This does not work the same way if I simply only have a line that goes from the farm to this food processing plant. If the food processing plant does not have any demand, it is not going to do anything at all. It is not going to grow, it's not going to be producing much. It's just going to stock up all of your food or all of your requirements right there and then go, thank you very much, I'm not accepting anything further. So hopefully with growing Christchurch, and you can see that my road connection or my line usage currently is only poor. That is likely to go up as people understand that there's a bus. That will grow Christchurch. And as Christchurch is going to grow, we're also going to see more requirements for food. Hence, a bigger production line on every end. And that's exactly what you need to be doing. You need to constantly be re-evaluating what is the final part of my chain. What is the final part that is going to be the demander? Because this one is only, let's say, section 2 in the chain. Christchurch is the final, the town itself, not the bus. Christchurch itself is the final demand, or has the final demand for food. So this is driving everything. Now once you have, for example, all of the demand in Christchurch met, so I'm actually looking at, for example, 65 of 65, if I keep this thing up. At that stage, I could say, well, that's nice, I have a pretty solid rail line going from the farm to the food processing plant, but I want to grow more. How do I get that done? Pretty simple. You make sure that you have this line, so this is the finished food line, and you take it down south towards Bernard Castle. Then Bernard Castle is going to grow, the amount of population is going to grow, their food requirements are going to grow. Then this one is going to say, hey, look, I'm not getting enough stuff. And then the farm starts to realize, oh, damn it, he's not getting enough. I need to up my production. So it's constantly going from one end to the other. And the finished product, or the one demanding the finished product, is always going to be in control. So in this case, that's Christchurch. It's currently getting a good rating. You can see that my town has been growing a bit. It's going to continue to do so. It's now demanding 65 food, where that was 63 a moment ago. And this is just the easiest way to grow production. Always start with the end in mind. What is the final area that I want to grow? If it's Christchurch, then I need to look at what Christchurch needs, and I need to make sure that all elements in the chain are requiring enough. So Christchurch requires 65 food. That means that this thing currently only has a demand of 65, but you can see that's already surpassing 100, so it's going to be getting an upgrade in 3 months. And thereby this farm is currently at only half production, but might kick up further as this processing plant can now gain more food. It will accept more. And that's all there is to it. That is all there is to it. Start with the end in mind. What is the production area you want to deliver to? What does it need? And how can you best get it there? As for this train, as you can see, it's a really simple line. Just from the farm to the processing plant to the town, and it's already gaining me more than $1 million a year. And that is for a really small train. It's just one engine, and it has a couple of cars next to it, and that's it. Demand has currently gone up to 68, and it's going to continue to grow up as we grow this town. And that's all there is to it. Just start with the end in mind. What is the area you want to grow? What does it need to grow? And what do the elements in the production chain need to grow? Start with demand, not with supply. Don't think that the farm is the leading element here. It is not so that if I just have this farm ramp up production to 800, that this thing, the food processing plant, is also going to ramp up production. If there is no demand, there is, let's say for the business owners of the food processing plant, no single reason to invest in their own factory and have it expand production. That is the way that you should look at the game, and that is the way that it is pretty easy to grow your expansions. So I hope this video was useful to you. If it was, please give it a like so we can get it higher up in YouTube and more people can see it. If you have any additions, then please leave those in the comments, as they are very helpful to other newer players. And if you have any questions, then leave those down below in the comments and I'll see if I can help you out. For now, thank you for watching, I hope it was useful, and I'll see you soon for more Transport Fever.